We have another IC grad with us today, Richard Buchingnani. Came to us in 1962. And like Bob, he was elected officer in homeroom and in his department. Worked in the Key Club, Jets, I think, what was that? It was an engineering club. Science Club, earned the honor roll, and ran track, as mentioned earlier, for Jack Moran. And at the Brothers on Parkway, track was literally cinders donated from the local steam plant to cover the oblong path behind the high school building. Falling on those cinders was no fun, in shorts. And after the first CBHS graduation on Walnut Grove Road in 1966, Richard matriculated to UT and graduated in 1970 in accounting. He then graduated from law school in 1972 and earned membership in the American College of Trial Lawyers. His spare time sees him as a trustee of the Day Foundation, Immaculate Conception Cathedral School, Church Health Center, Memphis Food Bank, Youth Villages, and Rhodes College. He's worked on the political campaigns of Don Sundquist and Ed Bryant. His class reunion of 1966 was successful in part because of his efforts to organize that event. He is a communicant and a Eucharistic minister at St. Peter's. His wife, Beth, of 43 years, are proud parents of John Richard, Allison, and Jay Buchingnani, and grandparents of Joseph and Jay. Richard is enjoying once again, after many years apart, his sister, religious sister of mercy, Sister Ellen Buchingnani, who is with us in Memphis today and here in the auditorium. Sister is a medical doctor returning from the missions. Welcome, Sister, to our gathering. And we are happy this afternoon to enjoy the company of Richard Buchingnani, also now in the Hall of Fame. Mr. Buchingnani.
Thank you, Brother Joel. When I received a letter from Brother Chris telling me I'd been admitted to the Christian Brothers Hall of Fame, I was delighted. But frankly, I never thought I'd get into the Christian Brothers Hall of Fame, so I'd never paid much attention to the membership. So the first thing I had to do was Google the Christian Brothers Hall of Fame. And when I did it, I read down the name of every man that has ever been in this group, and I see it's in the program today. And if you haven't done it, you ought to look in the list, because it is a very impressive list. A group of very recognizable names in Memphis, and not just in Memphis, but around the country. And they have a long list of quite remarkable achievements to their credit. So the first thing I want to do is thank the Hall for admitting me to this very distinguished organization. It's a humbling experience, but it's quite an honor, so thank you very much. But of course, I've got to say, if anybody deserves credit for my meager achievements, it would have to be the people that have helped me and shepherded me along the way. And that's a long list, but of course, right at the top of the list would be my parents, my wonderful wife, Beth, who's here today, my 5 brothers and sisters who are also here today. But Christian Brothers would also be right at the top of that list. And when I thought about what 4 years in high school had meant to me, I remembered a story I heard Coach Nick Saban tell about his high school years. And he said, and I'll try to tell this quickly, that he went to a small high school in West Virginia, and there was a girl in that high school named Terry that was really cute that he wanted to date with. Problem was, Terry was dating a guy named George Hudson. But through some finagling, Saban figured out how to get a date with Terry, ended up marrying her. And he said they rarely went back to their hometown, but not long ago he went back to receive an award, and after the ceremony headed back to the hotel. He stopped at a little convenience store just in the middle of this little town and said, "Terry, you know what that is?" And she said, "Nick, I have no idea." And he said, "That's where George Hudson works now. Aren't you glad you picked me?" And Terry looked at him right in the eye and said, "Nick, if I had married George Hudson, he'd be the head coach at Alabama right now." And that's the way I feel about the people that have helped me along the way, and especially CBHS. And When I think about trying to put in words what I got out of CBHS, I don't know a better way to describe it than to say, in 4 years here, I felt like I soaked up a lot more than I appreciated. And when I probably sprinted out with my diploma, when I got my diploma and sprinted out the front door of this campus, I probably didn't give a thought to what I'd gotten out of CBHS. But 50 years later, as they say, you look back through the telescope in the wrong direction, and you have a different perspective. And as I look back, I think there were a lot of intangibles that I got out of my 4 years here, that things I soaked up. And for example, life, of course, is too complicated to have a rule for every situation, but I felt like you absorb being immersed in CBHS for 4 years, a sort of where you become second nature to you to follow the do-right rule, that all these situations that get thrown at you, you have an instinct for what the right fork in the road is. But of course, you need more than that. You need what my homeroom teacher back in 1962, back on Parkway, talked about. And that was Coach Nix. And Coach Nix said that if you want to make the right decisions in life, it's not physical strength you need, it's mental toughness. And as some of the other gentlemen have described it, CBHS, where there was no pampering, and I'm sure that Brother Stephen never uttered the word excuse, it wasn't in his vocabulary, and where breaking rules has consequences, and you begin to toughen up, I believe, and hopefully you leave, and I think I did after 4 years, beginning to get the discipline so that you do take that right fork in the road, at least most of the time. And it's that for which I am most grateful to CBHS, and I thank CBHS for that today. And so with that, I'll just close by saying again, it's quite an honor to be added to this group, so thank you again to the Hall. But I especially want to congratulate my fellow inductees, as you've heard a couple and you'll continue to hear. They are a very impressive group with a long range of accomplishments, and I'm very proud to be part of that group. And as a final word, I will borrow a word from Jeff Calkins that he uses when he's making fun of our Memphis accents, and just say that I want to thank everybody who's helped me along the way, especially CBHS. So thank you very much.